Hey guys, Poro here with another video. This time, I'm going to be going over the LCK 2025 summer rosters, and I'm going to be ranking all of the teams before the split starts. So I guess the first thing that I'll mention is that this video is going to be, you should expect this video and every single other region video from here on out to be much shorter than the LPL one. The LPL one was like 40 minutes or an hour or something, because that region, for whatever reason, they went crazy on the roster changes. There were like 3 teams that kept their rosters, and then every other team had roster changes, so I wanted to talk about all of them. But most of the regions don't go that crazy, and the regions that did make some changes don't have 14 teams like the LPL does. So yeah, LCK, we've got 10 teams, and there is a chance that there will be 0 roster changes. So I want to go over the ones that I have in yellow first, the maybes. The first maybe that we have is that BNK, FearX, they had in winter split, no, not winter, in spring split, they were playing with Vikla and it wasn't going so hot. Vikla was not playing well at all, to the surprise of nobody. And so near the end of the split, or at least like, yeah, the back half of the split, they were playing Daystar instead, and in my opinion, Daystar was looking a lot better. That said, when you pull up their Leaguepedia page, it seems like Vikla's on the main roster and Daystar is not, which would be very disappointing. Like, I really think they should play with Daystar, but maybe they go with Vikla and just shoot their entire roster in the foot. That would be funny. That's why I have that as a yellow with 2 names, is that I don't know who's going there. DRX in the bot lane position, same kind of deal. They started with Teddy, and then eventually they swapped to Lazyfield, and Lazyfield's actually cool. Lazyfield is, to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure this is correct, the only Vietnamese player to ever win a game in Tier 1 LCK, which is very, very rare for the LCK. You almost never see LCK import anyone, so this is like super fun. Lazyfield was also playing well, and I'm pretty sure DRX are just gonna go with him, although I have it in yellow because I haven't heard any confirmation that they're going with him, and they do have Teddy in the back, so maybe they just go with Teddy anyway. And then the last little maybe that I have is Bros Jungler. They were kind of passing 3 junglers around at first, and then eventually got to the point where they were settled on 2, and the 2 were Krako and Hambach. Hambach was from the KT Challengers team, if I'm remembering correctly, the KT Challengers team, and was like pretty promising then, but then hasn't looked so great, whereas Krako started in the LCK, was decent, went to the LPL, had a pretty solid split on AL, and then came back to the LCK and is now on the Bro roster. And I think that Krako is better than Hambach right now, so I would prefer that Bro go with Krako, which is why I have his name there, but it could totally be Krako or Hambach. I don't know who they're going to play. So those are the 3 LCK kind of like quote-unquote roster changes slash question marks, but you'll notice that I don't have anybody italicized because I don't think anybody is getting changed. Usually the LCK is pretty slow to make changes. They do a lot of stuff after Worlds heading into winter split, but in between splits they're not really known to like swap around that much. Okay, so let's talk about what I think about the actual teams. So BNK, they've got Clear, Raptor, hopefully Daystar, Diable, and Kellen. I don't really have super high expectations for this team in this split, but their roster definitely isn't a complete lost cause. So in the past, my opinion of Clear has not been very high, and to be honest, I still don't have that high of an opinion of Clear. I don't think that Clear is like actually that insane of a player or anything, but he is certainly not the worst top laner in LCK. In my opinion, I think you could even go as far as to make arguments that Clear is like the 7th or the 6th best top laner. Like, I really don't think he's that bad, but overall, I don't really have like too many opinions on Clear. Raptor, I think, I mean, he could be okay sometimes. Like, usually in my head, I think of Raptor as the guy who's really good at Defiri and then like mediocre at everything else. Is just kind of like my personal opinion of him, so I don't know. I've never been super high on Raptor. If he gets the Fury, he looks really good, but other than that, not super high. Then they have the mid lane situation, so they can either play Daystar or Vikla. In my opinion, both of them are the 9th best mid laner, or the 9th best performing mid laner in the region, but they are very, very different 9th bests. So LCK actually has like an insane mid lane pool. Like, they actually have like a disgustingly talented mid lane pool. In my eyes, the top 8 mid laners are completely different from the 10th place mid laner. In 10th, I have Bulldog. I mean, people say that Bulldog has like a lot of potential or whatever because he had like some decent splits on KDF or whatever. But one, he had Cuz on his team, and Cuz is really good at making mid laners look amazing. And two, he has just had like a terrible split. So regardless of how much potential he might have, he just didn't look good in spring. So I have Bulldog as 10th best performing mid laner by like a pretty sizable margin, and then the other 8 are I like have a pretty high opinion of. Like, I think when you're scraping the bottom of the barrel of that top 8, you're looking at like UCal, Closer. Showmaker hasn't had the best split. Like, so these are like the type of mid laners that you would have at the bottom of that 8. Daystar I would have in 9th, but I have a good opinion of Daystar. I think that Daystar is a player who can be good, has had some really good games, and has a lot of potential. So I would have him in 9th, but like scraping the bottom of that like top 8 set. Like I would say that there are like 9 promising mid laners or 9 good mid laners in the LCK. Vikla I also have in 9th, but like 9th parentheses derogatory. Like I think that Vikla is not good, even though I think that Daystar and Vikla would both be like bottom tier mid laners in the LCK. They're like very different types of bottom tier, where I really think that Daystar is just better, and I hope that he plays. Yeah, basically that would be my opinion of Daystar. Is like he's a new player to the LCK, and he did not impress me last split, so I would like to see him again. Diable is also very new to the LCK scene, but Diable has been like playing pretty insane all split. I know a lot of people have very high opinions of him. I do think that Diable gets a little bit overhyped. There are people who say shit like, oh man, Diable he's the best bot laner in the LCK, and therefore he's one of the best bot laners in the entire world. And it's like, no man, Diable's not one of the best bot laners in the entire world. Like he's really good and he's really promising, but he's not that guy yet. But I mean, I think Diable could be. I think he could be really good, but at the same time, you know, I want to be a little bit cautious because you know, the last time that this organization had a quote-unquote super promising top tier bot laner named Prince, you know, didn't end up going so well. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Diable have a crazy downfall. But yeah, Diable is like definitely top half bot laners in this league for sure, and performance-wise from last split. He is super promising. I think he has potential to be insane. This could totally be his breakout split where he just goes god mode, but for the most part, that's kind of where I would have him, as like top half-ish. And then Kellen is like, he's aight. He's same Kellen as he's always been. So overall, I think this team is like high upside bot laner, potential in the mid lane, decent support and top, and then your jungler is like good sometimes and then not good other times, is like what I would say for this roster. So I definitely don't have high expectations for this roster, but maybe they can do stuff. Then you have DN Freaks. This team has just been an absolute disaster of epic proportions. Like when this roster first came together, I was kind of like, okay, you know, Doodoo has maybe scraped top half before, like Bulldog has potential, like Berserker's got good mechanics, Life had a really good split like over in the LPL. I was thinking maybe this team could pull something together, and man, it's just not been working. Like Doodoo has an argument for worst top laner in the LCK, Pioshik is definitely the worst jungler in the LCK, Bulldog is the worst mid laner in the LCK right now, Berserker has, I mean, people probably aren't gonna like that I say this, but I think Berserker has been the worst AD carry in the LCK as well. Life hasn't been the worst support, but he's certainly not been good either. Like all of these players are playing worse than they're supposed to be playing, and the worst part about it is that they seem to have no signs of actually improving at all. So unless they did some crazy grinding in the offseason, I'm not inspired by this team whatsoever. I think their ceiling is low. I mean, I used to think that their ceiling was like okay, but I've gotten to the point where I kind of think their ceiling is low. I think their floor is the lowest in the entire region. So for me, DNF, I'm expecting them to go dead last. I would be pretty surprised if we saw anything else. Then you have D+. Their roster is super interesting to me. So they have Cebu and Lucid. These are both players that came from the Challenger circuit, and they're both players that have a lot of potential to be really good. Like, I'm talking like these two players have enough talent that on any given day they can be the best player, like in a series against any team. Super promising on that front. I don't think they're consistent enough to warrant like a top spot or like being considered like a super elite talent in the LCK just yet, but I definitely think they're on the path to be there. So this team is exciting to watch on that front. It's super fun to watch these two players play. Showmaker is kind of on a downswing, although to be fair, he has been kind of on a downswing for a long time now. Maybe he's just got no more upswings left, but yeah, Showmaker's definitely been a bottom half mid laner. Personally, I think this has been a weaker split for aiming, although to be honest, I kind of think that every split is a weak split for aiming because I'm just the #1 certified aiming hater. So take my opinions about aiming with a grain of salt. My judgment on aiming is clouded for certain reasons. And then Barrel is like, I don't know, my opinion on Barrel kind of flip-flops. I think he's like super inconsistent, crazy inter, and then also has like high upside and can pop off sometimes and has like good ideas about the game. So I don't know. My overall opinion of this team is like Cebu and Lucid are top half probably, but I wouldn't put them any higher than that. I don't think that they're there yet. Showmaker's been bottom half the split. Aiming is probably right around the middle. I would also say Barrel's probably right around the middle. So DK, middle of the pack team for me. I would put them above BNK and DNF for sure though. Then you've got DRX. So they've got Rich, Sponge, UCal, LazyFeel, and Elle. This team is interesting for me because I think that their floor and their ceiling are actually pretty close together. Like, the way that I see this team is that they will never actually be like a team who's gonna do anything in playoffs, but they're also probably not going to be the type of team that's going to go last place. They don't have a single elite player on their team, in my opinion. I think you could like make an argument that UCal can be really good, but as of right now, a lot of their players are just not great in the LCK scene. Rich is too volatile, I think. Like, Rich has upside. Like, there are some games where he can randomly just carry, which is always good to have. Like, you want to have that kind of potential in a player. But I don't know. I've never been inspired by Sponge and Andil specifically. I think those players are both like squarely bottom half for sure, like scraping the bottom maybe. I think you could make an argument for like as low as 9th place for both of them. LazyFeel, personally, I don't really have a good read for yet. I want to see LazyFeel play more games before I decide how good I think he can be. But it's like, regardless of how good LazyFeel is, and regardless of if they even play LazyFeel and put in Teddy, it's like the same kind of deal right now, where it's like, I don't really see how that player swap would make or break this team in some kind of like significantly positive way. So for me, it's like, Rich is like not good sometimes, but can be good. UCal is usually good, but he's not some kind of like crazy superstar. And then Sponge and Andil are pretty uninspiring for me. So like for me, DRX is like, they will never be last to me, but I would never be able to put them any higher than like 7 or maybe like 8. That's kind of the range that we're going with, because that's how I view most of these players. Like, I see all 5 of these players as somewhere within the like 5th to 9th place range if I were to power rank the players. So I would have DRX above DNF. I think DNF is going to be the worst team in this region, but I'm going to put them below BNK. I think BNK has higher upside with Diable, and then potentially if they play with Daystar as well. Then you got Gen G. Gen G are just coming off of their MSI win. They obviously have some insane players who are arguably contesting spots as being best in their role in the world. So Gen G, definitely going to be, of the teams that we've talked about, they're going to be first. That said, honestly, if anything, MSI kind of lowered my opinion of this team a bit. I think that like domestically they were insane, and I thought they were just gonna stomp everybody, and then of course they had their whole entire terrible schedule, and then they had the super close flight to the beginning of the tournament, and they got no scrim time in Canada. And then they went on stage for their first series, and Chovy was literally falling asleep on stage, and so it's like, yeah, their performance was gonna dip initially. And then they had the terrible playoffs format too, right? So they came into the tournament super rusty because they had only played one official best of 5 in the entire month of June. But I was kind of hoping that by the end of the tournament, Gen G would ramp up into what they looked like before, and I don't know, I never really got there. Like, Keen looked pretty solid over the course of the tournament, I would say. Like, Keen kind of looked how I thought he was gonna look. Ruler and Duro definitely stepped it up a bit, I think. I'm not convinced that Ruler is the best bot lane in the world or anything, because, I don't know, I mean, like, 2 series against T1 is not going to overturn the entire year for me. Even at MSI, in Genji's first 2 series against AL and G2, like Ruler was still making all of the same mistakes he was making for like the entire regular season. So it's like I'm not just going to excuse Ruler just because he played really well against T1 in upper bracket finals and grand finals. So I'm still like hesitant to immediately say that Ruler is going to be like a top of the table AD. I mean, he's gonna be a top of the table ADC. Like he's gonna be like top 3 minimum. But I don't know. I don't have him confidently in first place like I feel like other people might. And then Duro, like he stepped up, but I still don't think he's like giga insane or anything. Like I think he rose to the occasion, but I also don't think he was that amazing at MSI. I don't think he was the best support at MSI. It certainly helps Duro out that On was playing like absolute dog piss, like for On standards. So Duro was probably either the second or the third best support. Actually, he was probably like third best. Yeah, somewhere around there. I think there's like an argument that Kyle was playing better, and I actually think there was also an argument that Busio was playing better. Like people kind of seem to forget what Genji looked like in their losses, or looked like in their losses at MSI. Their losses were not very inspiring at all. Like when Genji was losing, it was a very standard loss, and usually in the losses I found that Duro looked very unimpressive, and surprisingly I also felt like Canyon looked very unimpressive in their losses. Like there were some games where Canyon was playing crazy and he was doing what Canyon usually does and just like mega gapping, right? But I don't know, I just felt like there were a lot of games where I just couldn't feel any life from Canyon and Duro at all. So it was just kind of sad on that front. And then also Chovy, it's like, I think overall from start to finish, Chovy was the best performing mid laner at MSI. I know that the opinion is that Shanks was, but I think that Shanks kind of benefits a bit from hype moments and aura farming. Like Shanks had a lot of crazy looking outplays, but if you look at like what his influence was in the games overall, I don't actually think he was any higher on average than Chovy was. So I would say Chovy was the best performing mid laner at MSI. That said, I also think that Chovy underperformed at MSI in my eyes. I think he had a good grand finals, and then every other series before that, I don't know. He just didn't look like how I wanted him to look based on how he looked against HLE and their singular playoff series and how he looked all regular season. So for me, I don't know. Yeah, my opinion on Genji has gone down. It's like Ruler played a little bit better than I was expecting at MSI. Chovy played a little bit worse. Canyon and Duro, I mean, Duro played a little bit better than I thought. Canyon played a little bit worse than I thought. I never really thought that Canyon actually got super in the groove, despite what people say. I still think this team is like contesting the number 1 spot, or probably just is the number 1. Not in such a way that I think they're infallible, like I did before. Then we got HLE. I'll throw HLE here. They got Zeus, Peanut, Zeka, Viper, Delight. So I'm gonna say this, like I will preface this statement. In this HLE versus T1 series, I think that Guma and Keria were the much better bot lane against Viper Delight in that series. That said, I think over the course of the entire split, and just from what I know these players can do, I would actually still say that I think that Viper and Delight are the best bot lane in this region. Like, I think they're the best bot duo in this region. Other opinions that I have that I know that a lot of people aren't necessarily on board with, like you have to remember that HLE had a big fall from grace based on what happened in playoffs, because they got reverse swept by Genji, and then they just completely died against T1. And T1 was also ramping super hard, and the T1 was playing like I've never seen them play before. So HLE gets a lot of bad rep from that, but if you think about what they've done over the course of all of spring, what they did in the Gen G series before they got reverse swept, and then I guess you could even go back as far as winter where they were stomping everybody. I think the controversial opinion that I have, that I know that a lot of people disagree with me with, is that I actually think that Zeka is the second best mid laner in the world right now. Like, I think he was getting mega gapped by Chovy, because Chovy was, I mean, Chovy was just playing like the best player we've ever seen in the history of ever in that series. So it's like, of course Zeka was getting gapped. Like, the gap between prime Chovy and Zeka is like huge. But I still think that Zeka is second best mid in the world right now. Like, I mean I can't think of another mid laner who I would put above him. Like, I'm certainly not putting Faker above him. Personally, I'm not putting BDD above him. If I go over to the LPL, like, I think that Shanks is like really good, but I don't think he's just suddenly randomly become like insane level. I think the reason why Shanks looks so good compared to how he looked before is that Shanks has always been kind of floating around the top 3 through 6 range of mid laners, in my opinion. And now all of a sudden, all of the mid laners are underperforming over there. Like Knight has had his worst split in a while. Scout had to deal with all kinds of legal issues because he was getting sued for millions of dollars. So he had to deal with that shit during the split. So he looked bad. Rookie is probably at this point like well past his prime and will never look like Rookie does again. So it's like all of the usual LPL mid laners who would be insane. Like Doomb too. Like this is Doomb's first split back, so he's not in super crazy form yet because his champion pool is not big enough at the moment. It's like all of the mid laners that you would expect to be top of the table in this region, they all had down splits for one reason or another. And Shanks, I think he had like a slight improvement to how he usually looks. So what happened at the end of the day is that Shanks like kind of arose to be the best mid laner from the LPL, but I don't think it's because he overcame all of the other mid laners. I think it's because all of the other mid laners had a down split. So like by that same token, like I think that Chovy was really underperforming in his series against Elle, like when Shanks and Chovy played against each other. So it's like, yes, Shanks did look good against Chovy, but I also think that Chovy just did not look good for the entire first half of MSI. I really don't, I think if Shanks and Zeka played against each other, I would still personally hold the opinion that I would give Zeka the edge at the moment. So yeah, even though he looked like shit against Chovy in playoffs, and then the entirety of HLE looked like shit against T1, it's like, it is what it is. I still think this team is going to be really good. I think that Zeus is still the best top laner in the world. I think that Peanut is like solid. I think Peanut is very good at certain things. So overall, I still think this roster is like minimum top 3, and yeah, I guess I'll talk about how strong I think they are when I get to T1, who's at the bottom here. Then we got KT, Perfect, Cuz, BDD, Doc Dom, Peter. This team is odd to me because I really like their mid jungle, and I think that Doc Dom is elite on specific champions. So I think that Doc Dom has always been an insanely good Ashe player. I think he's like a pretty good Aphelios player. I mean, there are certain champions that Doc Dom just cannot play, and there are certain games where Doc Dom just looks like a bot, but I think that Doc Dom like has his uses. I think he is good at certain things and that he has a place on a good team. My main problem with KT is that I do not think that Perfect has a place on this team. Like, I get that Perfect is also a new player, but unlike Daystar or Calyx or Diable or Lazyfield, where it's like maybe I can see something from them, I swear I just see no potential from Perfect. Like, I don't see a way that this guy can ever be good. I think that right now he is the worst top laner in the LCK. I really think that Perfect is holding this team down at the moment, like a lot. And then I think their bot duo is like not impressive. Like, I think Peter is fine. Peter's like 6th, 7th place support in the region at the moment, somewhere along those lines. I think that Doc Dom is like a mediocre bot laner, also somewhere around the like 6 through 8 range on most champions, and then he has his specific champions where he's breaking into top half, or he has a champion like Ashe where he's like arguably just the best in the world. So it's like bot lane is like not too crazy, top lane bad. No other way to put it. I just think their top laner is like bad in the context of the region. The thing that like pushes this team forward and makes me think that they could be good and makes me think that they've got a good shot to qualify for Worlds is that I really like their mid jungle. I think that BDD is like playing really well. I mean, like BDD pretty much always plays really well, regardless of who's on his team. I think that he's like not dipped in form at all this split. He's been looking really good. And I also have a super high opinion of Cuz. I think that Cuz is like way nastier than people give him credit for. And Cuz is like super good at playing around mid lane. He's the GOAT of Smite 50/50s. He has like a super wide champion pool. I like Cuz a lot more than most people do. I think that a lot of the reason why BDD looks so good is because he has Cuz. Like, I swear on my life, like if you go back and you look at Cuz's match history, or not his match history, if you look at his like roster history, every single mid laner that he's played with has just like suddenly magically looked way better than they did in the past. And then after Cuz leaves their team, the mid laner has a sudden dip in performance. It's like, at a certain point, it's like you gotta have some pattern recognition, you know? So yeah, KT, it's like I have a high opinion of their mid jungle. I have a mediocre opinion of their bot duo, and then a low opinion of their top laner. So for me, I'll put them like here. It's odd to me because I think that DK actually surface level should be the type of team that I would be able to place higher than KT. I mean, like DK has like so much more upside. The upside of Cebu, Lucid, and then a Showmaker who's actually in form is crazy. But I don't know, DK just, they always have these like random stints where their team just completely collapses, and I don't know, I have no faith in this team, I'm sorry. Then we got Nong, Shim, Kingen, Gideon, Calix, Jiwoo, Lehens. This roster has been a very pleasant surprise for me. When they started the split, I'm pretty sure they had Sylvie instead of Gideon. When they made the swap to Gideon, I was like a super big fan of that. And then when they replaced Fisher with Calix, I was like a super fan of that. So I think this team started out with a roster that I wasn't very convinced in, and they've slowly crafted a roster that I actually feel like I can cheer for. I still think Lehens is really good. I think he's top 3 support in the region. I think Kingen has been having one of his better splits, actually. I think Kingen's been looking pretty solid. Gideon, I know that people are going to clown on Gideon because he was on the like 10th place bro roster or whatever, but I swear Gideon is actually like a fine jungler. I remember seeing him play on IG in the LPL and thinking that he was really good. So yeah, I think Gideon is better than people give him credit for. Calix, I have been very impressed by. I was expecting Calix to come in and be like slightly better than Fisher and then probably still bottom half, but man, I don't know. I think that Calix is like super good. I feel like he's popping off almost every game. And then Jiwoo, I don't know. I'm not like super sold on Jiwoo. I don't think Jiwoo is bad or anything, but I also don't think he's like anywhere near the top half of the bot laners in this region. So like, I don't think Jiwoo is like gonna solo lose you games or anything in the same way that like Fikla would, but I also don't think Jiwoo is like winning you any games either. Like, this team is, their strengths lie elsewhere, and sometimes Jiwoo can look really good when his team is like playing around him well, but yeah, I don't think he's necessarily the catalyst that makes this team go. But yeah, this Nongshim roster, every change that they had like an impressive finish in winter, and then every roster change they've made since then, in my opinion, has been like a very positive roster change. So this roster is growing me a lot. I would have them like here. I think you could even have an argument to put them there, but they did lose to KT in playoffs, so I have to respect it to a degree. Then we got Bro. I don't know, I still have hope in this roster. I know that like in winter for my preseason power rankings, I put Bro all the way up in 4th, and obviously that did not happen, but I actually, like, in hindsight, I still wouldn't take it back. Like, if I could go back in time and talk to past me, I wouldn't tell them to change that shit. Like, this, I don't know, like, I still think this roster has potential upside. I think Closer is really good. Well, I mean, I don't think Closer is like top half mid laners or anything, but I think Closer is like very solid. I think that Hype is like already solid and has a lot of potential. I think that like Hype to me is the same type of player, or like should be in the same type of conversations as players like Diable and Smash, where it's like, I feel like people need to hype this guy up more. He's insane. Like, he has like insane games. Hambach, I was not super impressed with, unfortunately, but I think that Kroko, if they choose to play with Kroko, I think Kroko is actually like pretty solid. I was impressed with what he did on AL, and I've been like not unimpressed by what he's done on Bro since he's come back in like the few games that they put him in. And then Morgan is like, I don't know, I feel like I still just don't have a good read on how good Morgan is. I feel like sometimes Morgan is just like completely shitting the bed, and then other times he'll just randomly come out and have like a super good game. So I never know what to think about Morgan. He almost kind of reminds me as like Doran Light, where it's like I really just cannot get a read on how good this player is and whether he's like shit or if he's actually like got potential to be super good or what. But yeah, for me, this roster has like high upside. The reason why I placed them so high initially before Winter Split was because they were absolutely like stomping DK in Kespa Cup when both teams had their full rosters. And I was like, okay, I mean, like, if Bro is just going to be destroying Damwon with like full rosters in every single game that they play against each other and every series that they play against each other, it's like, sure, I'll respect that. Like, maybe this Bro team will come out and they'll just be better than DK. It's like no reason to not think that. For me, the one big downside of this roster is Poyu. I think Poyu is just the worst support in this region. The more that I watch him, the more that I actually just think he's like a big problem for this team. It really hurts that this team's biggest upside is probably Hype, and he's just stuck with Poyu, so it feels like a lot of his games are unplayable when they shouldn't be. I also don't think that any of these players are like insano mode or anything yet. Like, I wouldn't say that Morgan's a top half top laner. I don't think Krako's a top half jungler. I don't even think Closer's the top half mid laner. I wouldn't even have Hype top half bot laner right now. So I think that like all the players on this team are like solidly, squarely sitting bottom half at the moment. I just see a lot of upside for this team if you remove their support position. So I would have them here, probably. I would put them above DRX for the split. If they go with Kroko, I will have them above DRX. If they go with Hambach, I could maybe put them like there, but I'm gonna have them here. And then finally, we've got T1, who, I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about this team. I guess I'll put them here, I guess, but I really don't feel that great about it. Like, if you take playoffs and MSI, I think this team is insane. Like, I think Doran has been looking really, really good. I think that he is like solidly placed himself as like top 3 top laners in the region now, at least like for this upcoming split. Owner has been super on form. He's insane. He's like, it's either him or Canyon as best jungler in this region. You could go either way. Faker, you know, I'm not putting him in like a top 3 or anything, but I think that Faker is a very solid mid laner and is very good at certain things in the game that is super valuable for any team to have. So pretty strong opinion of Faker, I would say. I think he's a valuable asset to the team. Guma and Keria have been the best looking bot duo in the world since LCK playoffs. I mean, like, they played super well in their short playoff stint. They played super well for all of MSI. I personally had Keria as my overall MSI MVP, even though T1 lost grand finals. So it's like, I think super highly of every player on this team. But I don't know. I feel weird about it. Just because of how turbulent not only their last regular season was, but every single regular season this team has. Like, I swear to God, this team cannot have a normal regular season to save their life. There's always something that goes wrong and always something that makes them look like shit. Like, whether it's Faker being out and then the team completely collapses and loses every single game and all of their players look like they don't know how to play the game anymore. Or if it's like the debacle in Spring Split where Guma and Smash were trading roster places, and then because they were trading back and forth so frequently, they both ended up looking pretty terrible. And then like that whole shit was happening. And then you like have other splits where it's like they're in playoffs and they're playing the 5th place match against, what was it? I don't remember if it was DK or KT or whatever, but like they were literally playing a 5th place match and both teams looked garbage. They both looked like disgustingly bad. And then T1 went on to win the entire world's championship. So it's like, I don't know what the fuck to think about this team. It's like they always have some like crazy regular season issues that make me just not want to have faith in them. Like, I have no faith in Gumayusi to be consistent. I have no faith in Doran to be consistent. I think that Faker still will not match up to the best mid laners in this region. What am I supposed to do? Like, my personal gut is probably telling me that I should have HLE in second, but the analyst within me wants to respect what T1 has been able to do at MSI and in playoffs, so I will keep them second. Like, I think if I take T1 for what they've shown me in the past month, I think their jungler and their bot duo have been super elite. Their top laner is like elite sometimes, and then their mid laner is elite sometimes, and it's like you compare that to HLE and I feel like their jungler is like bordering on elite maybe. Their bot duo did get gapped in playoffs, so it's like, what can you do? So it's like, I think realistically T1 should always be in second. I just personally have this gut feeling that they're just, I don't know, I just don't think this team is consistent enough. I'm feeling something. I'm feeling something in my spidey senses are tingling. So yeah, I would say this is my ranking of the LCK. Gen G, T1, HLE, these top 3 are like all in a tier of their own for me. Then below that you've got like a KT, Nongshim, DK tier, where these teams could probably go in any order, but I kind of wanted to place them in terms of how consistent I think they've been. I think you could put Nongshim like here if you wanted to. I think there would be merit in saying something along the lines of like, okay, well, Gideon and Calyx kind of just got inserted into this roster and now they've got more time to gel with the team and they'll like come out better. Based on how they looked in playoffs, I will leave KT above them. DK, I think they also have potential to be like here, but I need to see it from them. They've been not playing very impressive this split, so I need to see it from them before I'm willing to give them benefit of the doubt. And then below that, I've got these 3 also kind of in their own tier, BNK, Bro, DRX. I have them all in their own little tier where I think they could go in any order. I have BNK at the top because I see a lot of upside with Diable, and I think that Clear has been playing better than I usually think of him, so I'm willing to put him a little bit higher than I usually do. Then I got Bro. I think that Bro has upside with Hype and Closer. I think that Krako is better than people give him credit for, but I'm holding this roster back because I really don't think that Playu is that good. And then DRX, I think you could put them in 7th or 8th because I think that UCal is good. I think Lazyfield could be good. I think that Rich is like sometimes solid, so this team certainly has pieces together to take series against Bro and BNK kind of whenever they want, but I personally have them in last because I think they are the least consistent out of these teams. And then in dead last in their own tier, I would have DNF. I mean, unless this team really figures out something, I'm just not seeing it. Like, Bulldog, Berserker, and Life are the 3 players that I think have room to improve and come out swinging in summer. But I don't see a world where Dudu and Pioshik figure it out. I think these 2 will be like a big liability to the team. And in Spring Split, all 5 of these players have been a liability. I know that there's like some kind of narrative that like Berserker's jailed on this team, but Berserker is not jailed on this team. Berserker's been playing just as badly as everybody else. So, yep, those are my rankings for LCK. I think The only other region right now that's actually like pretty much finalized is LEC, so that's probably going to be the region that I do next. But yeah, there you go. LCK rankings. Bye.